My son's fiancée mocked me in French at dinner, thinking I couldn't understand. I let her laugh, then answered fluently, "Your visa ends before dessert does." My name is Walter Brooks. I am 69 years old, a widower, a grandfather of 2. I built this house with my wife, Ruth. We saved for the lumber. We varnished the banister. We put our children to bed in the room with the blue wallpaper. I keep things the way she left them because it feels like keeping a promise. I do not speak much. I was a shop teacher and a father. I learned slow and steady and tried to pass that on. When Ruth got sick, I learned how to cook simple and clean better. Right before she died, I learned one more thing, and I put it away like a spare key. It is a quiet skill. It did not belong to anyone else yet. I set plates on the table and wiped a small ring of water near the salt shaker. Lemon oil hung in the air. The table has a nick near the end where Ruth dropped a jar of cherries one Christmas. I do not sand that spot. It is a mark of us. My son Evan arrived with Camille in a tall bottle. He kissed my cheek and looked tired. She did not look tired. She looked alert, like someone taking inventory. Her coat was nice. Her shoes clicked on the wood. She walked through the dining room and into the living room like a realtor, not like a guest. Her eyes passed over the mantel, the shelves, the framed photos. She smiled at the room the way a person smiles at a mirror. "Your home has good bones," she said. "Very sturdy." "It has held," I said. We ate roast chicken and carrots. I poured wine, then water. They talked about the engagement party, venues, guest lists. Camille laughed often, a sound that showed teeth and no warmth. She had a habit of tilting her head at Evan when she wanted him to say something. He would nod and say it like it had been his idea. I watched them both the way I used to watch a workbench, not to judge, but to see where the pressure fell. Ruth and I used to look for that line in people. Where do they lean? Where do they push? "Your neighborhood is quiet," Camille said. "Nice for hosting." "Parking is easy." "It is," I said. "Sundays are best." She moved on. She pointed out where a bar could go. She asked about chairs. She asked about the yard. She asked about the capacity of my porch like it was a number printed in a manual. Evan looked at me when she asked questions, then looked back at her when I answered. His eyes were busy, like he was doing math. I kept my hands flat on the table and my voice even. It is my house. I felt like a guest. After coffee, Camille stood up and walked back to the mantel. Her reflection touched the glass of our wedding photo. Her hand hovered and dropped. It was a small mercy or a small test. I could not tell. I watched the way Evan watched her. He wanted to please her. He wanted to move fast. She wanted to move things. I saw it as clearly as the mark in the wood. She smiled at me again, bright and cold. The teeth were back. I smiled too and said nothing. We cleared plates. I stacked them by the sink and ran a little hot water. Steam came up. The kitchen window looked out over the driveway where Evan used to dribble a ball until I told him to come in. He would pretend he did not hear me for one more minute, then run in, laughing. I held that picture for a second and then let it go. "Dad," Evan said. He leaned on the counter. Camille stood beside him with her phone in her hand like a tool. "We'd like to host the engagement party here." "It makes the most sense." "It is your home," Camille said, and gave the room a small wave. "It should be part of our start." "Our start," Evan repeated and looked at me. "All right," I said. "We can talk about it." He cleared his throat. "And after, we'll talk about the deed." The word hit the tile and lay there. I dried my hands on a dish towel. I looked at him first. My son has my eyes and his mother's mouth. He could not hold my gaze for long. He looked at Camille. She gave a small nod. It was almost nothing, but it was an order. "What do you want to talk about?" I said. My voice was calm. It has been calm through worse. "Planning," he said. "Future-proofing." "Practicality," Camille said. We are going to be a family. We should be efficient. Paperwork gets messy later if we do not align things now. I do not like the word efficient when it comes to people. I did not say that. I watched my son speak with words that did not sound like him. I heard the speed in them. Ruth used to tell me that speed can be cruel. It does not leave room for care. Talk about what? I said. He looked past my shoulder at the window. Options, he said. We can outline something that keeps things simple. Joint access. In case you need help, I have help, I said. I have 2 hands. He flushed. Camille's mouth stayed still. This is not personal, she said. It is smart. It protects everyone. That is what people say when they want to take something without feeling bad about it. I felt heat in my chest, not anger yet, just warning. The dish towel was damp in my hands. I hear you, I said. Let's finish dessert. Evan nodded, relieved. Camille smiled in a way that slid over me, not to me. I cut the pie. The knife scraped the plate. My mind counted years in this house. The mortgage paid, the tune of Ruth humming while she watered the philodendron. I wondered when my son started using words like options and joint access to talk to me. I wondered if I had missed a step with him, if grief had picked my pocket when I was not looking. I set a plate in front of each of them. We will talk later, I said. They wanted something specific. After they left, I washed dishes and let the house cool. I turned off lights one by one. The mantel stayed lit a minute longer. Ruth's photo held the light and then let it go. I stood there and felt the room settle around me. When Ruth got sick, we sat at the table and learned French together. It was something gentle that did not hurt. She liked the shapes the words made. She liked to say café and sourire and merci. She said the language made her feel tidy. We made flashcards and small jokes. We used it like a secret we could still control when so many other things were slipping. After she died, I kept going with it. I did not talk about it. It felt like keeping a door only we knew. I watched French news. I read a children's book out loud to the empty room to keep my mouth from forgetting. It made me feel like I was still holding her hand for a few minutes a day. The next afternoon, Evan and Camille dropped by to measure the dining room. For the seating chart, she said. They used a tape measure and argued about how many chairs would fit between the sideboard and the wall. Evan wanted space. She wanted capacity. Her phone buzzed. She stepped into the hall and answered. She spoke in French. Her voice softened and then sharpened. I heard maison and pratique in vue. I heard papier. I heard dates. She laughed once, a sound like ice in a glass. I kept wiping the table. I did not move. I knew she assumed I did not understand. People show you a lot when they think you are deaf. Evan asked me for the ladder to check a string of bulbs in the pantry. I showed him. He looked harried. He cracked a joke about my old tools and laughed too loud at it. That is how he is when he is stretched thin. It used to happen at 16 when he studied late. It happens now when he is trying to juggle 2 loyalties and cannot. Camille came back in and smiled. My sister, she said. She is excited. Good, I said. She picked up the tape measure and kept moving. She did not know what had already moved in me. I wrapped the tape on my little finger and let it bite the skin. Pain helps the mind focus. Not much, just enough. I had no plan then. I had a house, a son I loved, and a woman in my kitchen who thought I was furniture. I still kept the French in my pocket. The invitations were spread on the coffee table 2 days later. Cream stock, gold edges. Her initials were a soft knot. Evan sat close to her, knees touching. I brought tea to be polite. She did not touch it. She looked at the mantel and said, "This is lovely." Ruth's photo sat in the center. It is from the summer before she got sick. She is holding a pie and squinting into sun. The frame is simple wood. I dust it every Sunday. We might need to shift things for the display, Camille said. A few candles? A guest book. Florals. We should make the focal point the announcement, not the nostalgia. She stood and lifted the frame. I watched her fingers on the back, careful and sure. She set it on the end table like she was moving a lamp. "It's practical," she said. "Older things crowd the living." The word older did work there, pressed low like a thumb. Evan watched me. He did not speak. He saw it too. He swallowed and looked at his hands. I picked up Ruth's photo and put it back where it belongs. I moved the invitations around it with 2 fingers. I did not push hard. I did not need to. "She stays," I said. Camille's smile froze and then returned in a new shape. "Of course. Just for now," she said. "On the night we will need the space." "There is space," I said. "We will find it." She looked at Evan, and he gave her a small nod. He was giving out nods like candy these days. It hurt to watch. It hurt worse than I expected. I sat down and folded my hands. The house felt like it had eyes. I could feel Ruth in the corners. I could feel my father in my spine, the way he used to stand when someone pushed him. I breathed in through my nose and out through my mouth and let the calm do its work. This was not a fight yet. This was a line. She picked up a pen and started to note vendors. She said, "We will need a caterer who can handle volume." She wrote as if she already owned the day, the room, the frame, the air. Evan leaned back and closed his eyes for a second. He looked young again. I almost reached out. I did not. I stood and clicked off the lamp to see how the room would hold the candles. Shadows moved and settled. The photo still warmed the center. "That's better," Camille said. "It looks more modern." I turned the lamp back on. "She stays," I said again. A new line was drawn. They thought I was soft. They thought I was lonely and eager to be included. They measured my rooms, counted my chairs, and spoke in a language they thought I could not hear. I set the table and listened. I let their plans stack up like plates I had no intention of washing. I did not argue. I did not warn them. I made one quiet decision and put it in my pocket, the way I used to pocket a spare key. When the night came, I would not raise my voice. I would raise the one thing they had not counted on, and I would do it with their own words. Soon they will see my boundaries. You won't believe how harsh they can be. But before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. Camille asked to use my printer for a seating chart. She said it with her coat already in her hand, like the room was an office. I showed her where the paper tray was and went back to the kitchen to slice bread. The printer hummed in the other room and spat pages with neat little boxes. She gathered a few, thanked me in a bright voice, and left them on the hall table to grab in a second. They left without taking them. I cleaned up after they drove off. I kept my hands busy. Wiping a counter is easier than thinking. The house was quiet in that way it gets after company leaves. The air feels used up for a while. I went to the printer to shut it down and stack the pages. There were more sheets than there should have been. The top was the seating chart. Under it was a copy of a passport. The photo was Camille's, hair tucked back, chin up. Under that was a form with my name typed in and a signature that was not mine. It was almost my loop, but careless, like someone writing while walking. A third sheet was a list of assets with my house listed and a little note in the corner. Use for support. Time frame tight. The toner smell was sharp. I held the papers and felt the weight of each one. Not heavy, but not nothing. I stood by the desk and looked at my name being used as a tool. My name, my house, my son's future wife. I sat down and breathed. I did not feel clever. I felt old. But I did not feel weak. I thought about the way she had moved Ruth's photo and called it practical. I thought about Evan using words like access. I wondered how long this plan had been living in my rooms without me seeing its shape. That bothered me most. Not the nerve. The hiding. I took the passport copy and the forged page and set them aside. I put the seating chart back on top. I closed the printer tray and turned off the switch. I wiped a small smear of ink on the desk with my thumb and left a thin gray streak. I placed the 2 pages in a kitchen drawer under the dish towels. It felt almost rude to lay them near the good linen, but it also felt right. Things that matter should sit where you can reach them. I did not call anyone. I did not storm to the car. I poured water into the kettle and let it heat. When it boiled, I turned it off and did not make tea. I listened to the metal tick as it cooled. They had written my name in a hand that was not mine. They had tried to set a place for me at a table I had not been invited to. They had done it in my house, with my paper, on my printer. The next day, Evan called. "Dad, can we swing by after work?" His voice was careful. I told him yes. He thanked me twice. That was a tell. He only repeats himself when he is unsure. I did not want a speech. I did not want a fight in my kitchen. I wanted to be steady in a way he could feel in his bones. So I did what I do when a thing needs weight. I checked the anchors. I took the deed out of the fireproof box and looked at the names. Mine and Ruth's. My fingers remembered the paper more than my eyes did. I put it back. I checked the spare keys that hang on the nail inside the pantry. 2 of them, both labeled in my block letters from years ago. I took a manila folder and slid the 2 printed pages into it. I did not label the folder. I would know what it was when I touched it. I stood by the mantel and looked at our wedding photo. The wood frame felt warm. I told Ruth I would be calm. I told her I would not lose our house and our name to hurry and pretty shoes. I told her I would not lose our son either, if I could help it. They arrived just after 6. Camille came in first, scent of something sweet and sharp. She brought a box of macarons and set it where the seating chart had been. Evan carried a tape measure and a pen like he needed to be useful. He kissed my cheek and looked at my eyes as if searching for weather. "We're thinking 40 guests," Camille said. "We can rent chairs." "Chairs are fine," I said. "Sunday is fine." She smiled, quick and professional, then set down a new page on the table. "One tiny thing," she said, "just to keep details smooth. A simple acknowledgement that the home will be used for the event and that you're comfortable with plans. Venues ask for these all the time." Evan rubbed his neck. "It's nothing, Dad. Just so vendors feel safe about deliveries, liability, whatever." I looked at the page. I did not see the word from yesterday, but I saw the shape of it pressed into the lines. I looked at the bottom. The signature space waited like a little trap. I put my hand flat on the table and gave it a small pat, the way I would pat a board to check if it had settled. "Understood," I said. "Leave it with me." Evan exhaled. "Thanks, Dad." I took the paper and slid it under the manila folder, not inside. I did not mix it with the other 2. It did not deserve their company. We walked the yard in the last light. Camille pointed at the porch and talked about lights. Evan asked about a cooler. The words washed around me. I was not cold and I was not warm. I was centered, like a level at rest. When they left, I stood at the window and watched their taillights. I held the folder in my hand and felt the cardboard edge cut lightly into my palm. The house behind me was steady. The night pressed close to the glass. I circled Sunday on the paper calendar in the hallway. Red pen. I did not write why. I did not need to. Let them bring their plans. I would bring one sentence. They came 2 nights later with cake samples. Camille set the box down like a trophy. Evan carried a metal clipboard. He had never carried a clipboard in my house before. He balanced it on his knee as if he might run away with it. "We want to lock in the caterer," he said. They asked for confirmations. "It's all timing, Camille echoed. Her smile was thin. "We cannot be casual. Not with our schedule." She opened the box. Small cakes in perfect squares, each with a label. She offered me one. I took the simplest. Vanilla. It tasted fine. It did not taste like any wedding I had been to. It tasted like a store. Evan slid the clipboard toward me. "Sign where it says you're okay with deliveries and overnight setup," he said. "It's just a green light." I read. The words were plain, but they leaned the way yesterday's did. A line about use of property, a line about access, a line about assistance as needed. Not illegal, maybe, but hungry. It wanted to grow. I put the pen down. "I don't sign on a knee," I said, and pulled out a chair. "Set it here." He sat. His hands shook a little. He pushed the board back. "You can take your time," he said. "It's just, dates are tight." Camille watched me. Her eyes were quick. "Without clarity," she said, "timelines get uncomfortable." She said it softly, like a threat left in a drawer. I looked at my son. "Are you uncomfortable, Evan?" He swallowed. "I just want this to go right." "It will go right," I said. "We'll do it right." I slid the clipboard back to him. "I'll read it tomorrow." "I will give you an answer," Camille leaned in. "We need it tonight." "I will give it tomorrow," I said. I kept my voice low and even. It is the only way not to break a thing you want to keep. She sat back and looked at the cakes as if they had betrayed her. Evan scratched at a mark on the wood table with his nail. It is a habit he had as a boy. I moved his hand away without thinking. He let me. They stayed 10 more minutes, making talk that did not land. Camille packed the samples with hard movements. Evan gathered the pen and the clip and dropped both, then laughed too loud and said he was tired. I walked them to the door. At the threshold, she turned. "We are on a schedule," she said. "People are depending on us." "I am depending on me," I said. She blinked. "Good night, Walter." "Good night," I said. They left the pen on my table. I left it there, pointing at nothing. The morning after, I knocked on Mrs. Wood's door. She lives 2 houses down. She taught French at the high school for 30 years. She brought soup when Ruth was in chemo, then sat with us and told stories about Paris in the 70s. She is small and spare, and her hair is the color of steel. She opened the door with her apron still on. "Walter," she said, smiling, "you look like you need coffee." "I need your ears," I said. We sat at her neat little table. A plant reached for the window. Her kitchen always smells like cinnamon. I told her about the phone call I had heard, the words I recognized, the laughter. I did not tell her about the form with my name. That felt like a separate weight. "She thinks you do not understand," Mrs. Wood said. "People get sloppy when they believe that." "She is careful," I said, "but she is in a hurry." Mrs. Wood nodded. "Hurry makes holes." I asked her if she would come for dinner on Sunday. "Not as a spy," I said, "as my neighbor. As someone who knows Ruth's photo belongs where it is, and if you hear something, I want another pair of ears that aren't mine. I am a man who misses his wife. I do not want to hear through anger." She put her hand on mine. Her skin was cool and dry. "I will come," she said. "I will bring a pie. And I will listen." I thanked her. I felt the knot in my chest loosen a little, not because I expected a fight in French, because I would not be alone if it came. On the way home, I stopped at the copy shop. I made 2 simple copies of the 2 pages and paid in cash. The young man at the counter did not look at the paper. I liked him for that. Back home, I wrote a short note in my own hand. Just the date, the time I found the papers, and 3 words: "Not my signature." I tucked it behind the copies like a bookmark. I slid everything into the plain folder and put it in the drawer by the table with the good cutlery. If I needed it, my hand could find it in the dark. I stood in the living room doorway and looked at the mantel. The photo was there. The invitations were on the coffee table, squared to the edge. The house felt like it was waiting with me. I practiced 1 sentence in French under my breath. 7 words. Simple. Clear. I said them until they fit my mouth again. I slid the folder into the drawer, closed it, and pressed my palm flat to the wood. Let them bring the cake. I would bring the line. Kindness is not consent. And tonight, I'd prove it. My revenge hour is near. I set the roast on the table and checked the candles. The house smelled like thyme and lemon oil. The photo on the mantel was where it belonged. The invitations were stacked on the coffee table, squared to the edge. Evan arrived with Camille and a bouquet that still had the store sleeve on it. She laughed when she handed it to me, like we were playing at family. He kissed my cheek and said I looked good. He looked like he had not slept. She looked fresh and sharp. "Mrs. Wood is joining us," I said. "She's bringing pie." "Our neighbor?" Evan asked. "She's known us a long time," I said. "She taught French at the high school." Camille's smile twitched and then came back. "Charming," she said. We sat. I carved the roast. Evan poured water and spilled a little, then wiped it fast with his sleeve. Camille arranged the breadbasket as if it were a photo shoot. She talked about lighting for the party. She talked about music. She said, "We can move the sideboard to make a drink station." "She stays," I said, nodding at the mantel. Camille laughed like it was a joke. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at Evan, then stood and slid into the hallway. Her voice went soft and quick. French. I heard le vieux, and maison, and papier. I heard il ne comprend rien. Then a short, hard laugh that bounced off my doorframe. I buttered bread and listened. I did not move. I remembered Ruth's mouth shaping those words slowly, with coffee and patience. My hands stayed steady. Mrs. Wood knocked and came in with a covered pie. "It smells wonderful," she said, taking off her scarf. I set out plates. Camille came back to the table, phone down, eyes bright. "This looks perfect," she said. "Let's talk timelines." We ate. Evan tried a story about work and lost his place twice. He rubbed the back of his neck. Camille corrected his facts like a boss, not a partner. She reached for his hand when she wanted him to agree and withdrew it fast when he did not. I watched her hunger. It did not remind me of love. Mrs. Wood tasted the roast and smiled at me. Her eyes shifted to Camille, then to me again. She had heard what I had heard. I did not need a signal. It was in the small set of her mouth. Dessert plates went down. Camille laughed again at nothing. The sound scraped. She thought I was furniture. She thought I was deaf. I picked up the knife and sliced the pie. I set the first piece in front of Ruth's photo without thinking, then moved it to a plate. I lifted my eyes to Camille. I let her laugh. I let her fill the room with her schedule. And then I opened my mouth. "Votre visa se termine avant le dessert," I said. I kept my voice level. These were my 7 words. Your visa ends before dessert. Clear as a nail tapped home. The room went still. Evan's fork froze in the air. Camille's smile died and came back as a thin line. She blinked hard, twice, like a camera fighting light. "I think you misunderstood," she said in English. Her laugh came out wrong. "My accent is quick." I continued in French. "I understand very well. You talked about papers. You said that I understand nothing. You said to take the house for the address." I did not raise my voice. I let the words sit where she had dropped them earlier. Mrs. Wood moved her plate back an inch and looked at Camille. "He understood," she said gently. Evan turned to her, color rising in his face. "What is happening?" "Camille?" He sounded small. He had not sounded small since he was 12. Camille's chair creaked. "This is a celebration," she said, eyes on me. "We do not need to be unkind." "Kindness is telling the truth at my table," I said. "In any language." She leaned forward, both hands flat on the wood. "You are making a scene." "No," I said. I set my knife down. "I am answering you." Evan's eyes flicked between us. "Dad, why did you never say you spoke French?" I looked at him. "Because it belonged to your mother and me." Until tonight, Camille reached for her glass and missed it. Water jumped and ran across the table. She did not look at the mess. She looked at me. "What do you want?" she said. It was a strange question, coming from someone who had wanted so much in my house without asking. I leaned back. The candles threw small shadows on the plates. I could feel the next step under my feet the way a carpenter feels the next rung of a ladder without looking. "Dessert can wait," I said. "We have something to look at first." I stood, walked to the sideboard, and opened the drawer where the good cutlery lives. I took out the plain manila folder. My hand knew the weight before my eyes did. I laid it on the table and opened it. 2 pages. The copy of the passport. The page with my name typed and a signature pretending to be mine. Behind them, my small note in my own block hand. The date, the time. 3 words. I turned the forged page so the signature faced them. "This is not my handwriting," I said. "This is my house. This is my name. You do not use either without me." Evans stared at the loops at the bottom. His face went white. "Camille," he said, "what is this?" She did not touch the paper. "It is a template," she said, fast. "Placeholders. Everyone uses a relative's address at first. It's practical. Vendors, deliveries, immigration sometimes. There are delays. It's just—" "Stop," I said. My voice stayed low. "No one uses my name like this. Not for a party, not for your schedule, not for your papers." She sat back. Her jaw worked. "You have no idea what the process is like," she said. "It takes years. People cut in line all the time. We are only trying to make life efficient." "You don't cut in my house," I said. Mrs. Wood cleared her throat. "Camille," she said, kind even now. "I heard you. You called him le vieux. You said his house would be useful. You said he would not understand. You meant to use him." Camille's mask cracked. "I meant to build a family," she snapped, but her eyes skipped to the paper, to the date on the passport copy. "You are overreacting." "Am I?" I lifted the corner of the forged page. It was printed on my printer. In my living room, Evan pushed back from the table. The chair legs caught on the rug. His voice shook. "Did you forge my father's signature?" She did not answer quick, and the silence answered for her. We sat in that quiet. It was not kind and it was not cruel. It was exact. I let it hold. I closed the folder, set it aside, and looked at Camille. "There will be no engagement party here," I said. "Not now. Not with this." Her eyes widened, sharp and mean. She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "And one more thing," I said. Evan stared at the folder like it was a live wire. His mouth opened and closed. He looked younger than he had in years. Camille tried a smile. It did not reach her eyes. "You don't understand the pressure," she said. "I have one window. If I miss it, work disappears. My life disappears. People do what they must." I kept my hands flat on the table. "People ask before they take." Her face hardened. The nice coat, the neat nails, the watch that flashed when she spoke, none of it softened what came next. "Comfort makes you slow," she said. "You sit in a house of memories and mistake it for a plan." I let that land. Then I lifted the folder an inch. "This is my name," I said. "This is my house." I looked at Evan. "And this is your line, son." He swallowed. He did not speak. Mrs. Wood set down her fork. The small sound made the air feel steady again. "I heard what you said in the hall," she told Camille. In French. He understood. "I did too, I did." Camille turned, sharp as a blade. "Mind your own business," she said in French. The room narrowed to the table, to the paper, to the woman across from me who thought speed was virtue and taking was smart. I stood. My chair did not scrape. "Écoutez-moi," I said, slow and clear. "Listen to me. I will not help you. Not with the house. Not with my name. It was quiet enough to hear the candle wax click. Camille knocked her chair over, getting up. "You'll move it tonight," I said. "Out of my house." Evan rose halfway, then sat again. His eyes were on the floor. He looked at the mess the water had made and did not wipe it. That told me more than his words would have. Camille grabbed her bag. She paused at the door and gave me a look that said I had cost her time. That was true. She left. Cold air walked in behind her and stirred the candles. The front door thudded like a verdict. I pressed the folder against my chest. The cardboard felt cool, light in the hand, heavy with what it meant. I walked them to the door. Camille left without looking back. Evan stood there like he had forgotten what to do with his hands. "Go after her," I said. "Or sit. But do not stand in a doorway forever." He blinked and went. I watched from the porch. They argued by the car, low and fast. Her finger jabbed the air. His shoulders rounded the way they did when he was 12 and caught in a lie he did not understand yet. She got in, slammed the door, and drove off. He stayed. He came back up the walk with the bouquet still in its sleeve. He had not given it to me. He had not meant to. It had been for show. He looked at it, then at me, and did not know where to put either. "I did not know," he said. The words were thin. "About the signature. About the printer. I did not know. I heard you," I said. "Tonight you heard me." He sank onto the top step. "I wanted simple," he said. "I wanted to hurry past the slow parts. I wanted a family again. That is all. Slow is how family holds," I said. He nodded and rubbed his neck. "She said everyone uses a relative's address," he said. "She said it was practical." "She calls a lot of things practical," I said. We sat there. The porch wood was cold through my slacks. The house breathed behind me like an old dog that finally lay down. He stared at the dark yard. "I do not know if I can fix this," he said. "I do not know if I even see it right anymore." He was quiet a long time. Down the block, a car door slammed. Somewhere a dog barked and then stopped. "Do you still have a key?" I asked. He pulled his key ring out and stared at the brass shape. His thumb traced it. He did not look at me when he spoke. "Do you want it?" "I want you to bring it back when you are ready to use it right," I said. "Until then, yes." He worked the key off the ring and held it out. His hand shook. I took it without drama. The metal was warm. "I am not closing the door on you," I said. "I am closing it on what tried to walk through you." He nodded, eyes wet. He stood. He walked to the sidewalk, bouquet still in his hand, and stopped under the streetlight. He looked like both my boy and a stranger. He turned back once. "I am sorry," he said. "Me too," I said. He put the flowers in the trash can and kept walking. Next noon, he came alone. No ring, no clipboard, the old college sweatshirt. He sat on the edge of the chair like a man learning how to sit again. We looked at the invitations stacked on the table and did not touch them. He talked about speed, about how efficient had sounded like love when someone said it loud enough, about how easy it was to call taking help. I listened. I let him lay it down. Grief had made him want shortcuts. I knew that road. It only looked smooth from far away. I gave him a line to stand on, not a speech. A year on their own. No use of my house. No use of my name. If she asked for either, the answer was no. If that broke them, it should. He breathed once, deep. He knew it was fair and hard. He nodded. I set the manila folder on the table. Not open. He put his palm on it, like a weightlifter testing a bar he meant to lift. "It will get ugly," he said. "It already is," I said. "We are choosing where the ugliness lives." He stood, then hugged me fast, as if he were afraid it would hurt and found that it did not. On his way out, he paused by the trash can and laughed under his breath at the memory of the bouquet. Grief and relief had the same sound. He left lighter than he arrived. I watched him go and felt the house steady under my feet. The texts came fast. She said I was controlling. She said I had done something illegal. She told vendors I had approved deliveries. She said there was access. I did not argue with a phone. I walked 2 doors down. Mrs. Wood met me with a single neat page. What she had heard in French, what I had answered, the time. She had signed it. "I don't like bullies," she said. I thanked her and slid the note into the manila folder. Quiet proof. Enough. On Maple at the precinct, I asked the desk sergeant to log it. He read, nodded once, and wrote a case number on a card. If she shows, call. If someone says they're delivering, say no. Keep it simple. I put the card in my pocket. At the hardware store, I bought a new deadbolt and 2 hasps. I liked the weight in the bag. Back home, I set them on the table beside the folder. Metal and cardboard. 2 kinds of leverage. Another text from Evan. She wanted to pick up her invitations here that night. A second text. He had told her no. I smiled without showing it. Dusk came and took the edges off the room. I laid out the screws in a straight line, the way I taught my students when we were about to set a hinge. Order first, then action. The porch boards creaked. A hard knock. No doorbell. She wanted speed again. I did not rush. I slid the case number card deeper into my pocket. I set my hand on the folder. I unhooked the chain only far enough to let the door breathe. Camille stood on the step in a perfect coat, perfect hair, eyes that burned. She held a plastic sleeve like a badge. "Sign," she said. "Apologize. Or I will make sure people know what kind of bitter man you are." "People know me," I said. I kept the chain on. She tried to move forward. The chain made a small, serious sound. She looked at it like it had insulted her. She listed consequences. I did not collect them. I gave her the only list that mattered. Leave the invitations. Do not come without my son. Do not use my name. If she pushed, the number in my pocket would answer, not my voice. Her mouth curled. "You'll regret this," she said. "I'll sleep," I said. She left in hard steps that rattled the porch boards. I shut the door, slid the chain, and felt the house breathe out. I installed the deadbolt. The hasps went on the shed where the spare ladders live. I checked the labeled keys in the pantry, moved one to the safe, and placed the case number card by the phone. Simple, visible lines, the kind you do not step over by accident. 3 days later, Evan arrived with tired eyes and no ring. He did not tell a story. He said one clean sentence, "It's over." Embarrassment and relief rode the words together. We let both sit. We stood by the mantel. Ruth's photo watched the room the way she always had. My granddaughter burst in from school and asked how to say please in French. We said s'il vous plaît together. She grinned. Evan's shoulders dropped. On Sunday, she came back with a notebook. We added merci, bonjour, au revoir. The sounds fit her mouth. They fit the house. At 10, I set the old invitation stack on the porch and closed the door. Light moved across the floorboards the way it always had. My house, my name, my terms. My door open to respect. What would you protect first? Your house, your name, or your son? Do you think I did everything right? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
My grandpa's words really happened. I believe him. If you want more true tales stories like this, hit subscribe.